Well, that went well. I decided after the fiasco of the 8th hole that I would stop filming after 9, and there were a few reasons for this. You just saw the first reason. The second reason was the weather. Despite the sun being out, it was cold, wet, and, thanks to the golf, miserable out there. And then there's the third reason, and oh boy, the third reason. When I got to the first 10 minutes before my tee time, there was a 2-ball waiting to go. When they saw me rock up, they said they were waiting for a third member of their group and told me to just go on ahead. I thanked them and got myself ready. However, that did include setting my camera up. When they saw this, they were like, on second thoughts, never mind. At that moment, the third member of their group turned up and they all teed off. And then the fourth member of their 3-ball turned up, teed off, and slowly ran off behind them. This left me, the guy behind me, and the 2-ball who would be behind him, waiting on the tee for them to clear the fairway. I let the guy behind me go through on the second hole, in the hope that maybe they'd let the cameraless 1-ball go through, but to no avail. I actually ended up teeing off most holes on the front 9 with that guy, in order to try and keep up pace of play for the guys behind, and surprisingly it worked. I didn't see them waiting for me on a hole until the par 3 10th. Speaking of which, I was going to pack it in for the day at 9, but then I remembered, I paid for the round. So I played the back 9, but I didn't film it. I wanted to see if I played better without the camera. I was curious to see if the guys in front would let me through, now, and I was also curious to see if they'd finish their round in daylight, should they not do that. Well, I got all my answers. These are my scores for the back 9. Interestingly, the 12th hole is where the 4-ball finally let me go through. This is also when they informed me of the 3-ball in front of them, who was slowing everyone down. But, to be honest, this was the first time I'd seen them. I would have noticed them in the fairway on the first hole if things were as bad as they were making out to be, but I swear they were not there before. Also, they let me through on the 13th. And after that it was just plain sailing. As for whether or not the 4-ball finished in time, they were walking in behind me as I finished up on 18. Great planning, fellas. So yeah, the golf got slightly better. I still did whatever it took to make a bogey when I was positioned to make a par, which is something I've got to work on. One positive from the day was my driving. As you saw, I was mostly on or just off the fairway, and you can't ask for much more than that. However, I kept fatting shots after that, which I would later learn was from widening my stance, as I was advised to do. I hadn't considered I'd be much closer to the ground, and therefore, fat, fat, fat. I've also changed my putting technique. My thumbs are more side by side in the grip, as opposed to on top of each other, and again, my stance is wider. Not much improvement right now, though. I need to play more rounds and film myself more. The camera is clearly getting to me more than I thought it would. Which is strange because when I play golf, I go out there believing there's always somebody watching, and I thought having the camera there wouldn't be any different. I guess I was wrong. I've only had the one really good round so far, and that was the very first vlog on here, at Batchwood. The course I've played more than any other recently. You could argue that Panshanger went okay, especially with the ending, and Western Turville also had a good finish, but I know I can play better than that. I have played better than that. I set myself a target of breaking 90 in these videos because it would mean breaking bogey golf. Well, put a dent in it anyway. My handicap was also 18 before we switched to the world handicap system, so it all lined up pretty well. And you can see that if I limit my mistakes, and dare I say, wholesome putts, I could easily break this target, but right now I am struggling. The game feels like a slog. Like, I need my best drive to even give myself a chance of hitting a green in 2, instead of having the option of smashing my driver, or playing more sensibly. I wanted to hit less drives at Cruise Hill, but that just wasn't an option in the end. Of course, practice would help me fix these problems, but I've never liked practicing. Even when I try to aim at targets and make a game out of it, it just feels pointless to me. Also, my local top tracer range, which is one of the only ways as amateurs can actually learn our numbers, is £10 a go for 100 balls, and I can't imagine spending £30–40 a week on range balls. I've got some things to think about, things to sort out. I've got to make this editing process easier so I can do the weekly uploads I originally planned to do. I've got to make myself go out and play and film. I need to make the filming and audio capture easier. So much to do. I'll see you in the new year, if not before then.